Student Jaylan Carter admits to not knowing much about Doug Jones, the Democratic candidate in next Tuesday's special election in Alabama for a Senate seat, but he is planning to vote for him. Carter, a 19-year-old who lives in Mobile, says, "I just know the allegations against Roy Moore. Right now, I don't think he needs to be in the Senate." The campaign to elect Roy Moore, the Republican candidate, does, however, remain buoyant in this deeply red, devoutly Christian state despite the evangelical ex-judge facing allegations of UAL misconduct against teenage girls in the 1970s. Moore denies wrongdoing, and has recently had the support of Donald Trump, who has cited the candidate's denials of the allegations. The president is expected on Friday to hold a campaign rally in Pensacola, Florida, which is just 25 miles from the Alabama border. The polls do give Jones a shot at being the first Democrat in 25 years to head to Washington, D.C. But political analysts have highlighted the importance of an Obama-level turnout among African-American voters for a rare Democratic victory. Community organizers in Mobile and around the state seem confident of a high turnout among older black voters, but are less than optimistic about getting young black voters to the polls. "That's a challenge," said Bernard Similton, president of the Alabama NAACP. "A lot of them that we talk to, they say, yes, I'm going to the polls. But you don't get that strong feeling that they will follow through." Tremaine Watson, a 20-year-old student in Mobile, says he skipped last year's election but plans to vote in the special Senate election on the 12th of December. Photograph Lauren Zinoli. The organization has been targeting millennial voters at campuses across the state, particularly historically black colleges and universities (HBCUs). Dr. Nina Ford Johnson, vice chair of the Minority Affairs Division of the Mobile County Democratic Executive Committee (MCDEC), has been working with other local organizations to maximize voter turnout in the weeks leading up to the election, and notes a feeling of frustration among many young African American voters. Nina Ford Johnson has concerns about turnout among young African Americans in the Senate race, but is encouraged by signs of increasing support for Democrats in Alabama. Photograph Lauren Zinoli. "I don't know exactly how to channel their frustration," said Johnson. "It's about figuring out what is going to motivate them to get out to the polls." Both Similton and Johnson cite jobs, better education options and access to good health care as top concerns among young black Alabamians. The state ranks near the bottom of health and education rankings in the country. In Mobile, an uptick in crime and violence is another recurring concern. The 2016 fatal shooting of Michael Moore, a 19-year-old African-American man, by a white police officer during a traffic stop has helped deepen institutional distrust, Johnson said. Jones has campaigned hard on his role in prosecuting the KKK in the Birmingham church bombing of 1963 that killed 4 African-American girls. But his civil rights pedigree may not resonate with a new generation facing more immediate challenges. "It's sort of like, what have you done for me lately?" Johnson said in describing the thinking of some young black voters. Jaylan Carter is a student at Bishop State Community College, AAHBCU in downtown Mobile, and when The Guardian visited this week there was a mixed interest in next week's election. Breenia Lacey, 18, said she doesn't pay attention to politics and won't be voting in next week's Alabama Senate election. Photograph Lauren Zinoli. Breenia Lacey, 18, said she doesn't plan to vote on the 12th of December. "I ain't really had a say all these years, and now I guess I just don't really care," she said. "I never really learned about any of it. Others, though, were more engaged." Tremaine Watson, 20, didn't vote in the 2016 election but said he's on top of it this year. He plans to vote for Jones. "Some of the things he's for, I can agree with," he said of the candidate, and would like to see more opportunities for youth in the area to help decrease crime rates. "We're not in the streets, but we're on social media." At a bar in downtown Mobile on Tuesday, a small group gathered for a screening of a documentary on the Birmingham bombing run by the Bay Area Young Democrats. Whitney Washington, 24, said she was still learning about the candidates in the race, but pushed back on the assertion that black millennials are unengaged with politics. "We're probably not in the streets, but we are on social media and we're doing things on that level," she said. Takesha White-Wynn, a retired Coast Guard lieutenant and community organizer in Mobile, cautions against recent media attention and political analysts' calculations that frame black turnout as the linchpin for Jones' victory. Jaylan Carter. "I just know the allegations against Roy Moore. Right now, I don't think he needs to be in the Senate." Photograph Lauren Zinoli. "Yes, the black vote needs to get out. But white women need to get out too," she said, noting that demographic was pivotal in putting Trump in the White House last year. We've been so loyal for so long, everybody else needs to show up too. Wynne, who has volunteered for the Jones campaign, says she is focused less on pushing Jones's agenda than relaying concerns of the black community back to the campaign headquarters. She highlights the fragile hope among progressives during this moment of rare momentum for Democrats in Alabama. He is reflective of the Alabama of the past. Similton, of the NAACP, said of Moore, Alabama is trying to change, but there is so many of the old Alabamians that are still around, some of the young people that want to be progressive, they just won't allow that to occur. Still, Wynne and other organizers point to a new tide of black millennial politicians as a point of optimism. Birmingham, Alabama's largest city, elected its youngest mayor since the 1800s, 36-year-old political newcomer Randall Woodfin in October. In Mobile's municipal election this year, 5 young African-American candidates ran, unsuccessfully, against city council incumbents. With state senate and house seats and the governor's office all up for grabs next year, a Jones victory could open new doors for progressive politicians across the state. Johnson, of the MCDEC, hopes a Democratic victory might bolster the party across the South. A yard sign for Doug Jones. Photograph Lauren Zinoli. It could speak volumes about where the country wants to head, what we really want our country to look like, and it would be great if that could start in Alabama, she said. Jones's strong showing so far has been enough to encourage at least one young would-be politician. Gregory L.S. Harris, 32, one of a handful of black attorneys in Mobile, says he was already considering a run for the state House of Representatives, and has been emboldened by Jones. He hasn't officially announced a campaign yet, but said, I definitely feel more confident with the civic engagement that comes in behind a Doug Jones. He calls Jones a litmus test for our social progress altogether, and remains optimistic about youth turnout. I do not see apathy. I see a resurgence of energy. I see a renewed sense of hope, said Harris.